Hi there, this is Becca with Amazing Paper Grace, and today I have a tutorial that I'm so excited to share. Earlier this week I made a card and it has this sweet little flower on it, and a lot of you asked me to show you how I made the flower to develop a tutorial, and so I have. Now this flower requires a little loom in order to make it, but I made my own loom and I can show you how to make yours too. It's extremely easy. Now, you may recognize this box. This box is something that I purchased at Michael's. It was $1. And the important thing about the box is that it's round. When you open the box, you can see that I have holes here. This is why being round is important. I just needed something cylinder-like that I could put holes in. Now, I measured north, south, east, and west to divide this up evenly, and then I put 3 holes in between, so I have a total of 16 holes. Now, you'll see in my box I also have a little bit of hardware. Originally, I was going to use nails here, but the nail heads would have been a bad idea. So I found this little piece of hardware that I've learned is called a rivet, and it has a long head here. Now these rivets, the ones that I used, they're called Arrow. I purchased them at Home Depot. This package that has quite a few in there was probably $6.70, something like that, $6.75. The ones that I used are 1/8 inch diameter with a 1/2 inch grip. The grip is this header part right here. So what I did is I used my drill, and I used a drill bit that is 5/64 to drill all of these holes. Once they were drilled, my rivets fit in there perfectly. And so I can put them in now to show you how. Now, when you're making this flower, if you want to make a sparser flower, you can put every other rivet in, or you can put every rivet in. So we'll put every rivet in right now. Okay, so I have every rivet in and pushed down. Now, I will tell you there are 2 different ways to make this flower. You can make it such that once you're done, you tie the flower, or you use a needle and thread to sew it. Or you can secure it with a brad. The brad is much easier. You're able to make a flower in a couple of minutes. But it's all going to depend on what kind of ribbon you use. If you use a loosely woven ribbon, then you'll be able to get a brad through it. If you were to use something like silk or satin, that's something that can't really be pierced, so you would need to sew the flower to get it off of the loom. So let's just make a flower real quick. I start out by taking a piece of tape and taping my ribbon to the front to secure it. And also I put a hole in the center so that I could have someplace to secure my ribbon as I go along by way of a nail. This nail is just shy of 2 inches, and I drilled a hole in the center so that I could put this nail up through the center, and as I go along wrapping my ribbon, I'll stab it. I'll stab the ribbon, or I'll secure the ribbon on this nail. So to get started, I'm going to go down on the nail, hold my finger, and I'm going to come around my post. And then I'm going to continue . And I'm going in a clockwise manner. Okay, so we're done. I can now take and snip this ribbon a little bit. And this is the point where I can actually put my brad through. So I have some large rhinestone brads. And at this point, I'm going to secure this by putting my thumb close to the hole, pushing down the nail and pulling it out. Now I can still see the hole, and so without disturbing it, I can actually add my brad to that hole. So now I need to lift the ribbon off of several of these posts in order to get this off. Okay, I can get my finger under there now. Got that taped. Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and I use a knitting needle or something round, depending on how round you want it. If I wanted it big and round, I would use something like this paintbrush. And I would just go in and I would fluff up the loop. This is wire edge ribbon, and you really do need a wire edge ribbon so that this will hold its shape. So if I want big fluffy loops, that's what I'm going to do. If I don't, I can use something like a knitting needle and just go in and straighten up every loop to make it lay the way that I want it to lay. Now I can trim off the ends on the back side, and then on the top side I want to just trim it even with the brad that I have here so that you can't see it. And so that's basically it. Now I have some other ones that I've put together. To show you. Okay, this one has a large rhinestone. This one has a pearl. Both of these were done with the stab method. This one has a pearl, and this one was sewn. So you can see they basically look the same. And with this one, I was just going to put a button on it, and you can actually take and stack two of these together and get something pretty fluffy. Or you can flatten them down with the two layers and you get something like what I've got on my card here. Those are those two. Then I took and I did the same thing with the seam binding. The seam binding is loosely woven, and there's not a lot of bulk, so it makes a really pretty flower. And then if I only went with every other post, this is what I would have. And then I also did one out of satin. Now this one is a little bit more difficult. It's very thick. The satin is has a lot of bulk, but it would be a nice base to something. And then I also did one just out of the organdy that has the wire edge, and I made a center with my eye top. Now a lot of these can be put together or can be put with other elements. Like I was saying, the pink one could be a back, like so. Or I could do something like that. That's a rose. And so that's basically it. The only other thing I needed to tell you is when you decide, if you decide to do the sew method, what you would do is you would wind all your ribbon, and then you would take a needle and go down through every hole and then come up through the opposite hole all the way around. It's going to give you a spoke look in the center, and then you can just tie a knot and pull it off. Let me just show you just like that. So there you go. That's how you would do the flowers, and that's how you make your flower loom. So I hope you enjoy, and I hope you'll give it a try.